What's up, YouTube? Right now, I'm here with a very special guest, Jessica Elaban. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of
This
course,
took a while for us to nail down a date, so we're finally here.
definitely. And I kind of want
Okay.
to talk about like that background you have right there, because you got like the piano, and then you have like this like graffiti behind you. Like, what's this background you have?
Okay, so I made this a while back. Just being an artist, and it took a while to make actually. It took maybe like a few months because it started off as like this box that my TV came in, and I like to use recycled materials. I like to use my art recently on cardboard. I like just for the fact that it's like I'm repurposing something. I'm recycling something, and I think that's a really cool element of it because when I buy a canvas, like it kind of costs money, or if I make one, it takes some time, but I just love the idea of recycling. So also with the keyboard, I'm just starting to dabble a little bit. I've entered this phase of my life where I'm really embracing the artist within me, however it comes out, however I'm feeling. And the reason why I'm doing it is, well, one, I originally started doing it last year where I was like, I'm going to help people and I'm going to be creative at the same time. So the way that I helped people was that I would donate some of the proceeds for art pieces that I sold to give kids the world. And I was in their top 20 fundraisers for their Hearts of Reality program. So that was a very fulfilling experience for me. I'm continuing to do.
Looks like you froze there. We'll be back after commercial break.
Everything has to be just perfect. And the thing is well, nothing's perfect, right? Like that's just kind of robotic. But in that kind of wavelength I was on, I wasn't really paying attention to how I was feeling. So it's been kind of a self-awareness, artistic, creative journey that I've been on these past few months. So yeah.
That was like the most like artistic answer I've ever heard. Like that's cool. That's super dope. So like apparently you're like really into art. You obviously create a bunch of stuff. What like led to you like starting to do art for the first time?
So okay, so it was a combination of my mom and her mom.
Okay.
And when my mom was she was going back to college, I was staying with my grandparents, and my mom was taking this art studio class, and she'd go on these field trips and stuff to museums. So at a really young age, I was going to museums with her, seeing like Monet or learning about the Louvre and like Picasso. And I instantly, I don't know if I clearly thought this like as a child, but I knew that when I was viewing an art piece and felt something, there was this like magical performance about it. And I kind of felt that like, okay, like if I can create something that makes somebody feel, then I've done it. And I feel the same way about wrestling too. Like, okay, and everybody knows that like you need a reaction, you're trying to get that. But now that I've shifted over into this more painting creating phase, there's parallels, and it's like, oh, I already knew this, but it's for this instead. And I can make people feel really good about it, or I can make people question like, okay, well, what does this mean about my perception of the world? What does this mean about how you feel about it? Does it make the relationship complex? Like, and that's the part I enjoy about it too, is like if you're able to draw conversation and create introspection so that we kind of get a bigger understanding of the world around us as we're experiencing it together, I think it's a really cool thing. And I just get this sense of like connectivity. So I feel like it brings me closer to me and to others.
I just love these answers.
Did that
That's
answer your
perfect.
question? Wow, I feel like I
I
just went
think
like,
I think it did. Like you started, then you just kept going, and I liked it.
woo.
Well, like, that's a good connection of like wrestling and art, just like honestly all being a different form of art, I guess. And like, what was like your background of getting into professional wrestling? Because I was doing some research on you, and I know you played volleyball in college, but like then you kind of made your transition to professional wrestling. So what was that like difference maker between like, all right, college volleyball, life professional wrestler? Like where did that correlation come in?
Yeah, it was so out of the blue. So I was doing door-to-door sales. I was one of those people that would show up at your work uninvited, trying to sell you stuff that you didn't need. And I had no right. Like I would go to like I get these territory maps, and I would get like these strip malls and stuff, or I'd have to go to like these skyscrapers with like lawyers' offices and stuff, which is so intimidating. So you have to like be prepared to get told no to your face, and also understand that security might escort you out the door sometimes. So I was doing door-to-door sales. I was selling Phoenix Suns basketball tickets. Go Phoenix. And I go into an Einstein's Bagel Shops. I'm talking to the employees. Like I'm starting to like flirt with them. I'm like, hey, so like, you guys want some tickets? So this gentleman approaches me. His name was James Johnson. He was amateur wrestling coach for Sunkist Kids for ASU. And I didn't know that. I didn't know, he was a stranger to me and stuff. But he's this big, like 6'6", 6'7", like muscular, like older gentleman. And I was like, he had a presence about him. And I instantly felt like, before he said a word, I was like, this man is going to change my life. And I don't know if that manifested or anything, but it turned out that he had been a guest coach for WWE, as they have guest coaches come in and like they get, you get a different feel for everything. So he was a guest coach for WWE, and he just started chatting with me. And I initially thought that he was trying to just get my phone number. I was like, whoa, like, we're not talking about what I'm selling, buy what I'm selling. And so, so he bought the tickets, right? But he said that he was a personal trainer. So I didn't really know anything about him. From that conversation, I just got that he was this personal trainer. And at that time in my life, I was like kind of hating doing this door-to-door sales thing. Like, the exciting part of it was that I got to meet a bunch of different people, talk to strangers, like kind of peer into everyone's like work life around the city. And that was kind of a cool experience for me. But I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, it's time to move on. And I was thinking very deeply about what I wanted to do with my life. I had always felt like moving makes me feel good. Volleyball makes me feel good. If I can get that kind of conditioning, no one will stop me. Absolutely no one will stop me. And it's just because, like those amateur wrestlers, they condition like crazy. They have like insane discipline. And I remember going through workouts with him where I would be literally crying on the treadmill. It's traumatizing in a way because of how difficult it was, but then very relieving and elevating, knowing that you can push yourself and take yourself to the next level if you don't give up. So anyway, so he gets me this tryout, and I tried out, and it was amazing. And I was scared as hell. That was the first time I've seen because at the tryouts, they do these tryout matches for people who are experienced. Not me. I was like, I've never been in a fight in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. Please don't. I don't know. Like, I kind of don't know what I'm doing here other than it feels awesome. And so I remember watching, I think Ruby Soho was at my tryout. Shayna Baszler was, Julia Ho or Zeta Zhang. And then like, I'm sorry if I forget anybody, but I remember like we all still kind of talk. But I remember watching, I think Ruby had a match and I forget with who. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, I don't know how to do this. This is scary to me, but I'm going to learn. And it's, and then, after the tryout was done, they were like, we're going to send you an email. Yes, no, maybe. And so like a month goes by, I don't hear anything back. I'm like talking to my trainer, coach, James Johnson. I was like, okay, well, I said, thanks for the tryout, but I haven't heard anything back. Like, what should I do? And stuff. I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, they want to call somebody. And he was just like, no, leave it alone. Don't bother them. They're busy. And then he put things into perspective for me to where some people spend years and years waiting to get to WWE. And then even after they get the tryout, it's like they won't get a contract until months later, years later. So calm down, Jessi. All right. Like, you'll find out. And I was like, okay. And it's kind of like what we were talking to before our call. It was just like, just sit down, keep working on your goals, stay happy. You gave it everything, and keep moving forward. So
definitely.
So I waited, I think it was 2.5 months until I got the email, and I got the yes email. And I remember it was like all caps.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, yes. And then the contract kind of came, and then that day was pushed back, kind of like what he was saying. So I was glad that he kind of braced me for that. And then I started June 2017.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how different is like the Performance Center like right before you left the WWE versus when you first started?
So so different.
Imagine.
So different. Like they don't play. Like,
Oh boy.
and I feel like, well, they don't play as in when they say roll with the punches. And I think that kind of goes for any other job, any life you're experiencing and stuff. You just go with it. You got to adapt, you got to adjust, and you got to keep smiling and keep a good attitude, and you got to learn. Like my coach, trainer and stuff, we kept in touch still. Like, we were very close and stuff. And so he was like this mentor to me, and he was always saying, like, Jess, like, in life, sometimes things happen, but you can zigzag, you can go forward, you can go up, you can kind of go down, but don't stay there. You can go outside, you can go keep like me sane and at peace. Cause I'm one of those people, and I don't know if you are, where it's just kind of like, all right, this thing happened and I need to examine it from every single angle until I understand it, because I'm looking for a sense of control, because I need to know that like I have some sort of control over my future. But the truth is like, you don't. So let go, just be happy and keep breathing. So yeah, so it was way different. It was completely different. Like the way things were ran, like they moved, I mean, the rings are moved in a different building. COVID era happened. The new recruiting style, the new brand style, like it's kind of just shifting too, because different influence different people who had influence over like their stake in the company, like that. I'm sure that changed. I don't know everything about that, but you just gotta, way different. And I bet you it'll continue to do that.
For sure. And like, what's the difference between like the NXT that you were a part of versus like this NXT today, NXT 2.0, as far as like a talent perspective?
Talent perspective?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could talk about style. Like, you mean like the style of wrestling, the style of recruiting?
I guess like the style of recruiting time I'm going for.
Oh, okay. So I feel like with the last class that was recruited in before my release, it was kind of like I saw a bunch of me's walk in the door, where like people who don't know wrestling that well, or at least they weren't involved, or they're getting their first taste of it, being casual fans. Like, that's cool, like I think wrestling's for everybody, to be honest. And when like my class that I came in with, it was stacked. Like everyone had some sort of experience, or they already had a name. Delana Vega, Dakota Kai, Rhea Ripley, Imperium. I'm remembering their first names, and I'm trying to think of their stage names at the same time. I'm one of those people where if I meet you this way, like it's gonna stay there. And you have, in wrestling, people have like 10 different names sometimes. So it was a stacked class, and I was the only one in my class who, aside from Rick Boogs, who had no wrestling experience at all.
Were you like a fan growing up at all, or was like the tryout like your first experience? Like, oh, this is like what sports entertainment, professional wrestling actually is.
So with so I remember watching it with my dad. I would go visit my dad every other weekend, and he would have, and going into Monday and stuff, Monday Night Nitro. Yeah, okay. That was cool. That was like a nice bonding thing with him. And I remember watching, I forget which other, I kind of mix up the programs and stuff during that time period. But I remember I saw X-Pac do like the most beautiful leapfrog I'd ever seen in my life. Like, I didn't know that was a thing, because you see cheerleaders do it, and I was like, that's too girly. But I ended up being a cheerleader anyways down the road. Okay. But when I saw him do it, I was like, oh my God, that's dope. And then I think shortly after, there was like this angle where, it was a different time period, how the women were being presented and stuff. So I think there was an angle going on with some lady being objectified or whatever. And so kind of within that same kind of moment or evening and stuff, I said it out loud. I was like, I want to be a wrestler. And I think my dad registered like what the women were, and that's what the roles were. Not that like I wanted to be an athlete and jump around and do that sort of thing. So he was like, we're gonna not watch this for a while. And so then I kind of watched it off and on through college. And I remember I really liked AJ Lee. I liked John Cena. I liked the Bella Twins. Like I liked that. I feel like the more commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was exposed to, you know? And as soon as I got to NXT, and when it was kind of more of like the indie style and stuff, more of like the fast paced thing, that was a whole new world for me. That was like, I was like, dang, this stuff is deep. Like, wow, there's so much to it. And I was fascinated with it. And I immediately felt like, for me, having no experience, or like, again, compared to everyone else who came in my class, I had like this sense of like, there was this competitive side to me where I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I'm gonna do this. But then there was this like kind of intimidated, naive side of me where I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and you guys are good at it. So how am I gonna hang? So that was quite an experience. But now that I feel like I've had some time away from it, and still like I still train, I still have access to a ring. I've met some other really cool people who I train with off and on with. And it's just, I have like this whole new look at wrestling now. I think some of it's just from experience. I think some of it's from having time away, like being able to rest and then like really just go down those YouTube wormholes and study people and discover, because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of opportunity, and that really excites me.
What was like the talent's reaction like for the wrestlers that come into WWE that have like this like 10 years of independent experience versus like the wrestlers that get signed that might not have like the enormous background in professional wrestling? Are they more helpful? Are they a little more like kind of standoffish to you guys? Like what's the correlation when they guys like first like meet up?
Honestly, I think it depends on the person. Like I truly believe everybody walks in the door wanting to do the best for themselves. And that's a interesting thing to balance, especially if you're in a really competitive environment, because you have to constantly step up. And I think someone who I'm really grateful for actually is Athena, or at the time Ember Moon. She's my locker mom. She's always going to be that person to me. She was just, I think like she's just so good at wrestling. Like her level is on, like, she needs to be in the Hall of Fame somewhere eventually.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere actually. But she was just so giving. And yeah. I think it's because she knew what her lane was, and she was passionate in what she was good at. So I remember I would go to open ring, and she was actually my first match. Wait. Well, Liv Morgan was my first match on a coconut show. And then, no, she was my second match. Like at the VC, like you practice, like they're like, let's just see if you could crawl before we throw you in the deep end and stuff. So she was my first match, and like she was I feel like she broke me in. I remember she kicked the crap out of my leg. I'd never been like kicked or like anything, but then I realized how physical it was, and I enjoyed it. I was like, all right, I know I'm in the right place. So I think there's people like her that like really believe in elevating the business, and like it's just part of it. And if you don't have the mindset to accept like, okay, like this is some of the culture right here, like this is going to help you get better. And I think they appreciate people who put the time and make the extra effort to get into it. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't know that much about anything going into it, it's just like animal kingdom stuff. Like if you walk into a new house and stuff and you don't take off your shoes, you don't say thank you, you don't ask for advice, you're not a good guest, well, you're going to get kicked out. It's the same mentality there. So
Of course. And like Triple H was like a really big like mentor for a lot of people at NXT. What was the relationship like between you and Triple H?
I can't really say that we spoke too much. I remember when I was still doing my my funny like nerdy gimmick, and that was honestly like I loved playing that character so much because it kind of helps me hide behind my own errors during a match. So it's like, oh, like character would do it, but I really messed up. So, but people caught on and they thought it was really endearing. So, our first conversation and stuff was when I was playing that role, and he just gave like this very motivating, and it felt very sincere. Like, you're an athlete, we believe in you, you're going to find a way. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna find a way. and then later towards the end, I didn't really talk to him that much, but he was accessible. I think it was just kind of about timing. There was like another instance where we briefly talked about gear because I was trying to figure out, like, as I was going on with the Robert Stone brand, like who that person was. And I just felt like, to me personally, as I was developing in that lane, it didn't feel right to me. And then it kind of just became one of those things where you kind of like, oh no, what do we do? Like, I don't know what to do with me. You don't know what to do with me. Like, maybe I should take a step back and figure this out. So yeah, I mean, he was there, he's accessible, but I wouldn't say that like we spoke regularly.
Definitely. And like when you say like it didn't like feel right for you for the Robert Stone brand, was it something about like the character itself, or is just like you not vibing with the whole like idea of like being a part of like this like I guess faction?
Oh, well, I enjoyed working with Robert Stone, Taya, or Frankie Monet,
Yeah.
all the names and stuff. Like, she had all of her experience, going forth. And it was just like the opportunities that we were getting and non-direction that we were getting. It's like, I feel like it's kind of, we were trying to figure out something to present. And like, I think it was during the time that they realized that the brand was changing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, well, maybe we just didn't fit in with their vision. So it's like, okay, well, again, it's like a timing thing. Like, we did everything that we could. We were happy to do it. It's out of our control.
Yeah, I mean that's just like one of those things when it comes to like just wrestling. Sometimes it just doesn't line up for whatever reason. And after you left the WWE, what was like your first steps? Was it like, all right, I want to get back into wrestling, or it's like I just want to take like some time off from this completely and just kind of like do my own?
So, well, first off, I knew I was going to be okay. But second, I just took time off. Like, for the first time in years and years of my life, I didn't do anything. Like, I was like, I'm like, I'm just not gonna move. I needed a change anyways and stuff. And I didn't like work out for 2 months. And it was like the coolest thing because I would always have like this kind of guilt and stuff, like this kind of like what I was telling you before, this thing for being what perfect meant. And I thought, well, like, the perfect person always works out every day, which is like not true. And I was just like, I just need to get away from that. I just need to like really like just do this mental reset. And so like in that part of relaxing and a lot of self-reflecting, and figuring out that, yeah, I do still want to wrestle. Like, that was the number one thing. Because after a while, like when you're working for somebody else and you have a job and you're getting a paycheck, and like, that's nice. And all these other things are happening and you find yourself like not being happy. I'll say it. I wasn't happy towards the end. Like, okay, it happens. It was like, okay, well, whatever I do next, I want to make sure that I really love it. And I'm going to create a framework of my life to something that I've been dreaming of. And I want to be self-employed. I want to pursue art. I want to see where I can go. I want to get into galleries, auctions, museums, NFTs, like that I know will always be there. And then also pursuing acting. So we're going in that lane. We're having fun with it. We're keeping in touch with amazing people that I've worked with before. And if I could offer anybody like any sort of advice, it's learning how to grow your network and create good relationships. And the relationships aren't about like, okay, well, they can do this for me. You know, it's not like that. It's about finding out who has a similar vibe as you, who do you get along with, who's going to be good company, because the fact of the matter is like we're experiencing together. And so are you going to try, like, don't try and force something with someone just because they have something. Like, it's not like that. So for me right now, it's just making good relationships and building my network too. So it's been a lot of fun because I think a lot of people have many gifts to offer. And as soon as you figure out what your gift is, like, you got to share it. You have to share your gift.
Of course. And like you said earlier to start the interview that you're going down like these YouTube rabbit holes of like all this content. So what shows up on your YouTube feed? Is it like a bunch of like independent wrestling, or is it a bunch of art kind of stuff coming up?
It's a combination. So I'll get wrestling news. I'm watching like a lot of AEW dark matches lately. Actually, all the time. I'm pretty consistent with that because I just like to see. I'm enjoying that product a lot. For other good reasons too. And also, it's really cool to see other people that I've worked with, like they're starting to get their wave, like in another brand. So I love seeing that, like just people that you know and they don't give up and they still go for it. That's so cool to me.
Of course. And like, we know art and acting is definitely the aspiration right now. Is like showing up on one of those brands, is that an aspiration as well, or we're kind of just leaning towards whatever happens?
It's a goal of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just say that it's a goal of mine. I think timing is going to be a factor.
Definitely.
And stuff, just with some other projects I have going on. And then just still being proactive too with it. Yeah.
Of course. And I guess one of like my final questions are, so whenever you get back into the ring, we see you re-debut, you have this amazing career. Who are the few people that you actually really want to step in the ring against?
I'd like to work with Jade Cargill.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind facing Danielle Kamea again. And then there's other talent that I didn't know about. I like Layla Hirsch. I think she's got something cool. Yeah.
Nice. I mean, that's a great list right there. So where can they find you on social media right now, honestly? Because like there's so much things that you're trying to do right now, the art, the acting, wrestling even. So like where can they find you on social media so they can follow this journey?
Oh, hey, thanks for the plug. You can follow me at Instagram and Twitter and TikTok. Instagram and Twitter are Jessica Elaban, just at Jessica Elaban, my name. My art page is J Electra on Instagram. And then I recently started TikTok, which I'm trying to figure out. I remember when I did my first post like a year ago, my sister, who's fully into it, like she sent me this message and you're like, you did an Instagram post on TikTok. And I was like, I don't know that. Okay, okay. But I'm really, right now I'm about to go down like this Stitch rabbit hole because those reactions are nuts. Like those are so fun to do.
That's amazing. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm so happy that we finally got to figure out like a good time and place and set the whole thing up. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, Malcolm, it was such a pleasure being here. I wish you good luck. This is great. Like, I love that your channel is growing, and I'm going to make sure I like and subscribe and comment.
You heard that. That means you guys got to do it too.
Do it. Where's the button? Push it.
Somewhere on the screen.
Push it.
Down there. Just press it. Just press it. Guys, make sure to like, comment, share, and always subscribe, and we're out.
We going up like 1,000. I'm a flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'm a flex just like a muscle man Malcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze.